Hey, call me Louis. This is my spot. LuiSpot.
For me, a former Israeli ambassador who served the Israeli government as a diplomatic envoy, advocating its policies while it officially adhered to the two-state solution. At present, when occupation of the occupied Palestinian territories turns into annexation, I have turned from a loyal ambassador into a political activist. I resigned government a number of years ago, and the crux of my motivation was actually that, the departure, the divorce of my government under Netanyahu as Prime Minister and Lieberman as Foreign Minister from the basic fundamental commitment that my government took along the years to transform occupation into a peace agreement. Jerusalem is the core and the microcosm of the Palestine-Israel relations, the occupation, and its transformation into solid annexation. In a paper composed by Iramim, an NGO, prestigious NGO based in Jerusalem and is dealing with the Jerusalem case, presented in July last year in a conference in Brussels, the Israeli strategy to consolidate its annexation of Jerusalem was discussed in detail, where the paradigmatic shift in Israel's policy on Jerusalem was on full display. And I truly recommend whoever is interested in the case of Jerusalem to Google Iramim, I-R-A-M-I-N-I-M, and look into their materials. The Netanyahu government now for several years has taken strides to consolidate its physical control of East Jerusalem, while at the same time it has been systematically weakening the Palestinian capacity to maintain livelihood, education, housing, social fabric, and political leadership in the city. Israel is pursuing to redraw the boundaries of Jerusalem through legislation, through administrative action, and cultural orientation. This is done in order to change the demography of East Jerusalem at the expense of the Palestinians and in favor of Jewish settlers. The Green Line, the June 1967 border, which is supposed to be the basis for a negotiated agreement between Israel and Palestine of a future settlement based on the two-state paradigm, is systematically eroded by Israel. It has an impact felt in the core of the city, enclosed in the ancient walls of it, including the Haram al-Sharif, Temple Mount, and the outer perimeter of the city, where large Palestinian neighborhoods have been walled out and practically disconnected from the heart of the city, East Jerusalem. While the government of Israel is taking consistent strides to unilaterally design the future Jerusalem as a unified city with municipal boundaries that are inclusive of neighboring settlements and exclusive of Palestinian large quarters, the US administration has introduced a far-reaching shift in recognizing the city as Israel's capital while ignoring the Palestinian aspirations and universally recognized entitlement to have its future government of the independent state of Palestine seated in East Jerusalem. And I need to add here that I speak reflectively of the Hebrew discourse in Israel. And I want to make sure that you understand that alongside the Israeli government, and in spite of a large majority of right-wing inclinations in Israel, there is also a strong constituency of people whom I represent here, and who are anxious and concerned with the fact that we are moving in the wrong direction. And we are reaching out as much as it is possible to our Palestinian counterparts and allies to work jointly on this. On the legislative level, the government has promoted bills that would transfer 120,000 Palestinian Jerusalemites residing beyond the barrier in such quarters as Kufr Aqab, Kalandia, or Aram. This was to be done by simply withdrawing the municipal boundaries to exclude them, the most crystal clear case of gerrymandering. And at the same time, a separate motion was aiming to add to Jerusalem municipal boundaries adjacent settlement blocks, such as Ma'ale Adumim E1 to the east, Givat Ze'ev to the north, and Givat HaMatos Gush Etzion to the south, with 140,000 Jewish residents. While moving relentlessly to transform the outer perimeter of the city into an Israeli municipal space, it is also pursuing to change the fabric of the old city, which is the core of this urban space. Demographically, the challenge is tall. Compared with approximately 100,000 Palestinians residing within the walls, only 3,000 Jews live in the Jewish quarter and about the same number in the Muslim quarter. The government of Israel is executing systematic eviction of Palestinian residents in buildings built on land owned in pre-48 Palestine by Jewish individuals or societies. In Sheikh Jarrah, for example, there are now 75 Palestinian families awaiting forced eviction by court order. It is important to note that Palestinians who were possessing property beyond the 48 lines in West Jerusalem have no such luxury to claim this property back. This is a simple, clear case of opposite entitlement. Jews can claim property, Palestinians cannot. In Batad al-Hawa, Silwan, 100 Palestinian families are facing imminent forced eviction on similar grounds. Past experience tells us that once a family is removed from its home onto the street, settlers immediately move in to exercise ownership on the evicted property. There is no way back. In recent years, we have seen projects that serve as touristic settlements. Not only that properties in the public domain are entrusted to extreme nationalist settler NGOs like El-Ad or Ateret Kohanim, but through them a one-sided narrative is being portrayed and consolidated, the Jewish narrative. Such narration of the Israeli story in association with ancient Jerusalem, as well as the modern city, is setting step by step the global perception of the city, where the Palestinian story is simply losing ground and will be extinct in the future not too far if attention is not being paid to this. And I think it is a tall order for the world to do pay attention to this. In addition, massive structures are being built or planned, such as cable car connecting the two parts of the city beyond the Green Line, tunnels under Palestinian neighborhoods portrayed as serving access to archaeological treasures, all exclusively Jewish and state-owned or entrusted to settler NGOs with no Palestinian participation, no Palestinian say, no Palestinian taking part in designing the future of a city that eventually is of both. While the dynamics of deprivation tactics towards the Palestinians take place in the outer perimeter and in the core of the old city, and the immediate vicinity of it, parallel dynamics take place in the Haram al-Sharif, Temple Mount itself. But I want to emphasize another point. Since March 2009, when Prime Minister Netanyahu launched his new cabinet, he indicated off and on record his irrevocable divorce from the two-state paradigm leading to peace. In retrospect, his drive to annex the city and the West Bank in general is evident in every move. In a few hours, we Israelis will go to the ballots. Most pundits predict another victory for Netanyahu. But even if he loses, he leaves behind a legacy, a zeitgeist that will take a generation to heal, a lost decade for us all. In a formative speech, and this would be my last point, in a formative speech Netanyahu delivered in Bar Ilan University 10 years ago, almost to the day, in June 2009, he said, "Let me first say that the connection between the Jewish people and the land of Israel has lasted for more than 3,500 years. But we must also tell the truth," he says, on record, in public. Within this homeland of the Jews lives a large Palestinian community. We do not want to rule over them. This is a fundamental conviction of Netanyahu. The land is in exclusive possession of the Jewish people. The Palestinians are a large community in residence on Jewish-owned land. I recognize the presence of Ambassador Mansour. Neither he nor any Palestinian leader, neither any Palestinian individual would ever be prepared to accept this formula: exclusively owned Jewish land and Palestinian community, however large, in residence as guests on a Jewish land. That is an absurd. But this is what governs the collective mentality of my government at this point. Recently, in July last year, the same idea comes in the Jewish nation-state law, rendering the Palestinian Israelis living within Israel inferior status. The Jews have exclusive rights to purchase land in Israel. The Arabic language, hitherto equal to its status with Hebrew, is now demoted to a lower level. In a recent skirmish over the social media with a television presenter, he responded, and I quote, "Israel is not a country of all its citizens. According to the nation-state law that we passed, Israel is a nation-state of the Jewish nation, and it's alone." And one can only add guessing without any hesitation, and Greater Jerusalem is its eternal capital. It is for us all, the international community that you are sitting here on behalf of, and the civil society globally and in Israel itself, which I represent here. It is an urgent task to regroup and rethink our tactics and strategy, to change the trajectory of the dynamics in the Middle East in a way that allows the Palestinians a proud state alongside Israel within the territory of the Green Line of 67. We take enlightenment in the Security Council Resolution 2334 of December 23rd, 16, which demands distinguishing between Israel and the occupied territory beyond the Green Line. That is our vision just as well. Thank you very much.